Hey everyone, Muneeb here. Really excited for this conference. I feel like it was just yesterday when the Stacks chapter in Pakistan started, and it's really great to see how much it has grown over time. And there are so many different people, organizations, and universities involved now, and all the growth has been really amazing. So I think today what I'll try to do is give a little bit background on why I got excited about Bitcoin and crypto, and what are some of the opportunities here, and how programming languages like Clarity can be a really good tool for trying to make the most of this opportunity in front of us. So some of you might already know, but I actually grew up in Pakistan. My dad was in the Pakistan Army, so mostly grew up in the sleepy town of Rawalpindi, right next to Islamabad. And actually, I remember the time when I got my first computer, right? So this is the late 90s. I think it's like around 97 or so. And at that time, it wasn't like very common, especially in Pakistan, for somebody to not only have a computer, but also to go online. And I remember like that's kind of like where my journey started, my interest in computer science, my interest in kind of like the internet itself, and trying to learn more about it, trying to actually tinker around. But if you compare, imagine like like a young hacker or engineer back in late 90s to today, I feel like the world is completely different, right? So I wanna draw like some analogies and highlight some differences from that time to today. So going back to 97, I think it was kind of like the start of the .com, right? And if you were in Silicon Valley, you could actually go to investors, you could actually raise capital for your company, and then maybe try to take it public or something. Like we all saw the .com boom around 99, 2000, and then saw the crash in 2001. But the market's kind of like recovered after that as well. But there was such a stark contrast between somebody who is not in the US, forget about the US, like not even in the right circles in Silicon Valley. It's almost like impossible for you to raise any capital to be meaningfully part of something that is almost like a revolution happening. But for that, you need to be physically somewhere else, and you need to kind of like network your way into certain circles, and then have the kind of resources to go off and build whatever you want to build. Like you might be really excited about the technology, but that was kind of like the path in for you. And I think since the internet, I would argue that Bitcoin and crypto are by far the biggest thing that has happened on the landscape of technology since the internet itself. And this wave might actually be far bigger. Like it might be like 10x or maybe 100x bigger than the internet itself. And I think it's hard for people to imagine that right now. Like even though the crypto industry is reaching something like $2 trillion of market cap, it's hard to imagine that this could just be the beginning of it, because what this technology enables is actually so revolutionary that I think the overall impact can be 10 to 100 times bigger than that of the entire internet, right? So that's the type of opportunity in front of us. But I think this is also very unique, especially for people in countries like Pakistan that are upcoming, that are developing regions, and there might not be a lot of opportunities available locally, because crypto is entirely online. Like there's no reason for any entrepreneur or engineer to physically move to Silicon Valley or any other geographic location, or you're not bounded by access to information or access to technical know-how. Like I remember when I was going through my undergrad, like I was basically really focused on trying to get into a really good university or grad school, because I wanted to go and learn from the computer experts, like people like that really looked up to. And even back then, this is like early 2000s or so, information wasn't as freely available, right? So it wasn't like, you would have open courses at MIT or other universities that you could just like take, or just like do a self journey of like, I want to learn about a technology and there's enough information available that I can just do it. So I wanted to actually get accepted into a top PhD program to get to work with these computer scientists and actually try to work on like cutting edge technologies and so on. But that is also no longer true. Like I am very grateful that I went through the grad school program at Princeton. I love all the faculty members there. I think they're really smart people. But if you'd ask me today, would I go back go back to a university and be in a research lab like that? I would probably not do it, because I think that working in a startup, working on the cutting edge of crypto is actually where all the action is. And if anything, I think academia would be lagging. Like they don't know what the real problems are. They're kind of like living in a little bit of a theoretical bubble that doesn't fully reflect what the ground reality is, right? So imagine, like, even if you're interested in research work or cutting edge computer science, the best thing you can probably do right now is to actually work in crypto, like, because this is such a unique intersection of distributed systems, computer security, applied cryptography, game theory, even economics, and to some extent like political science as well, right? They're all these areas, and if you really want to do cutting edge work, like, these networks are real, and these experiments are actually being run all the time in the industry, and these experiments are growing. Like they're not theoretical, and there's capital available, there's resources available for you to basically just like dive into the deep end of the pool and learn from there. And one of the interesting things that I've noticed in the crypto industry now, especially lately in the last 2-3 years, is that there's this culture of anonymous developers. Like they wouldn't even reveal their real world identity or where they live. And these anonymous teams are actually able to raise capital, because what matters is your quality of code and the quality of your ideas. It doesn't even matter what your real world identity is. And I think that's like super fascinating, because one thing that I've definitely noticed, like every time I was in Pakistan or other upcoming regions, is there's this sense of like people there feel that they don't have access to the right type of resources, but they feel a little bit of a disconnect, that only if they can get a job at a high growth tech startup in Silicon Valley, and maybe then they will feel fully connected, and they'll be able to make the type of impact that they want to make. And I want to like fully kind of like correct that notion, but that is absolutely not true in crypto. A small team coming from like Lahore or Islamabad that could even be anonymous, that actually knows how to program smart contracts, and they have some really good ideas. And there's not even a shortage of ideas in this space. Like the real bottleneck is actually engineering skill set. And every single project in crypto is hiring engineers like anything. Like I think I just had this tweet this morning that this industry can absorb like 10,000 engineers, probably more, on a monthly basis. Like even at that rate, like we'll have something like 5-6 million engineers hired into this industry over 10 years, which feels not a lot. I think crypto is actually going to be much bigger than that, and the type of kind of like resources available to absorb engineers is absolutely mind blowing right now. Which brings me to the Clarity language, or some of the work that I know the Stacks chapter in Pakistan has been doing. So first, a little bit background. A lot of people kind of like know about Bitcoin, at least at a high level. So Bitcoin is, the way to think about Bitcoin is that the Bitcoin is the most secure and the most decentralized blockchain. And it was launched in a very fair manner, right? Like it was a mining only launch. There was no pre-distribution. So in many ways, it has the characteristics of being sound, fair money. Like, and because it doesn't have a leader, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, or they were, basically disappear. So it doesn't have a leader, and it has a culture that you can't really change Bitcoin, which makes it like an ideal candidate for being something like hard money, meaning a money where, think of that as a store of value like gold. And then instead of depending on fiat currencies, which are in the control of governments, and they can change the supply or other characteristics of that currency, you actually have a real unit of account, right? So you, and this was completely not possible before, right? So I cannot underscore how big of a deal that is, because imagine how much of the world trade or the world economy revolves around the US dollar right now, right? And imagine if a programmable form of money that is sound, meaning that no one can change the supply of it, is completely fair, anyone can become a part of it, and it's programmable, starts to take over. And a new type of a Wall Street kind of like start to emerge around it. And I think it's not just that, because if you look at the underlying infrastructure that powers Bitcoin, it's not that just like financial products are possible around this technology, but a lot of the type of applications that we've been using from traditional Silicon Valley, like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, like these types of applications can also benefit from a decentralized network like Bitcoin. And you can actually have much more secure, much more decentralized versions of messaging, social networks, and the possibilities are really limited by the imagination of the developer. And so if you're a programmer and you're starting up in crypto, you see like this like huge possibility of like this world-changing technology. The questions are then, hey, should you try to learn more about Bitcoin or different ways of programming Bitcoin versus some other ecosystems? And I think the one that comes to mind is Ethereum, which is kind of like the second largest blockchain out there. And then there are other smart contract platforms as well. And we decided to focus all of our energy on Bitcoin because we feel that it is by far the biggest network with the largest community, the biggest brand name, and the most amount of capital behind it. But more importantly, it's really built in a way that it is durable. That's the thing, that it has been designed to last for decades or centuries, right? And the care given to how decentralized it is, how hard to change it is, and how fair the initial distribution was really, really matters. And that's kind of like where we come in, because Bitcoin, for various security reasons, doesn't have the full smart contract language at the Bitcoin base layer. That's the gap that Stacks fills. So Stacks brings smart contracts to Bitcoin. And we actually did years of research on this new programming language called Clarity, where we came up with a super secure, super predictable way of programming smart contracts. Because imagine on these smart contracts, you're keeping like tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of worth of assets. So the number one thing that matters for a smart contract is how secure it is. And Clarity is almost like a superpower for developers, where it helps to avoid certain mistakes that are very easy to make on Solidity-like languages that are being used on Ethereum. So I was so glad to see that there are so many organic kind of like courses on Clarity that are being, people are just like kind of like making them as they go, and they're actually helping teach other students or other engineers who want to do that. So these like grassroots movements are super powerful, because I think they share the common values of crypto as well. Crypto is truly a grassroots movement. Like, you know, there are in crypto, we don't believe in leaders. In crypto, we kind of like want to do the right thing and help each other as a community. And I think that's a really great ability to have. So in terms of like what type of opportunities are available, I'll highlight that there are something like 30 plus independent entities in the Stacks ecosystem already. And I can guarantee you that every single one of them is hiring for smart contract developers. And so if you know how to program in Clarity, that is a very rare and very valuable skill set that a lot of companies are looking for. And this is only going to grow. Like, as I said, that we are at the early innings of crypto. It usually goes in cycles, like there are bull markets and bear markets. And bear markets are actually one of the best times to be building, because there is less distraction. You can kind of like just focus on your work and not be distracted by what's happening in the market. Right now, we're going through somewhat of a bull market, and it attracts kind of like more attention to the industry, which is also great. But I would have the mindset that this is something that is going to grow a lot, and you want to invest in yourself. You want to invest in your own career, and you want to learn a skill set that is going to be more and more valuable in the future. And I think obviously I'm biased here, but I think learning Clarity and learning how to write smart contracts, learning how to interact with Bitcoin, like imagine Bitcoin almost has $1 trillion market cap. And if you know how to program this asset, if you know how to use this asset in new types of smart contracts, that's almost like a superpower. And people are kind of like building all sorts of interesting things on top. I'll give you some examples. People are coming up with new types of stable coins that can be secured by Bitcoin. They're coming up with new types of stable coins where there can be a type of collateral that is earning Bitcoin on the collateral, right? So imagine these are like almost like a new category of financial products that weren't even possible before, or they're building these decentralized exchanges or automated market makers, and these things can have such a huge impact with potentially very small teams. I will give you one example of Uniswap. I think Uniswap right now has something like a $20-25 billion market cap, and it does billions of dollars of trading volumes. And it's a team of like 10 to 20 people in Brooklyn, New York. Like this is like unthinkable even in traditional tech, that you could have such a large impact and such a popular product that is used by so many people and results in so many transactions and transaction fees, whereas there are only like a handful of people behind it. But that's totally possible in crypto, and I think we'll see that more and more as the crypto markets emerge. So really glad to see this conference being put together. Honored that you guys asked me to come here and share some thoughts. My message, if there's like one takeaway that you would have, is this is the time to really invest in yourself, really kind of like connect yourself online, forget about the physical borders, forget about kind of like Silicon Valley. All the opportunities are in front of you, and all you need is a computer and an internet connection and learning the right tools. And I think many of you are already doing that. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see what comes out of this conference.